My boy.
Well, hey there, guys. I'm Max Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shop, ZeldaEngine.net video mailbag where I answer your Zelda questions. And I hope you all had a good Christmas or holidays, and also had fun at the Faces of Evil live stream yesterday. Our first question is from Brad. In the Dark Link fight of Ocarina of Time, do you believe the Biggoron Sword, Din's Fire, and Megaton Hammer make the fight too childish and easy, or do you prefer to use them to ensure an easy win? Well, a couple things here. First of all, I've never gotten the hang of the Dark Link fight. I struggle every time I do it. I go in with I go in with like all bottles filled with items, and I go in with like everything, and I still lose them all and barely pull through. I've never actually used any of those items. Biggoron Sword, I guess, kind of makes sense. I don't get how the Megaton Hammer would help, and Din's Fire totally makes sense, but yeah, I've always had trouble with Dark Link. I'm actually curious if you guys do too. Has he always been that psychotically hard for you? But another thing is I don't feel that there's necessarily any combination of items or tactics in a game that are too cheap to use. I mean, anyone should go through the game using what's fun for them, what maximizes enjoyment. If doing a fight over and over again makes it too hard, there's no reason to keep doing that. And if it's sucking the fun out of things, you should just go through it however you have fun. And if that means using a probably cheap tactic to kill the boss, then that's fine, because that's the point. It's a game. Have fun. So yeah. 13576 asks, since Nintendo has already stated that the 3DS has more power than a PlayStation 2, do you think they could make a Zelda Wind Waker / Twilight Princess for the 3DS? Well, they could. That's definitely a possibility. They could easily probably do so. Well, maybe not easily, but, reasonably well do something like that. The thing is that I don't think they will. First of all, as I've said before, I don't know if they're going to turn remakes into the standard thing for the 3DS as far as Zelda is concerned, or if they're going to make another some more like Phantom Hourglass Spirit Tracks type games, or if they're going to do something completely different as the 3DS standard for Zelda. So that said, I don't actually expect to see a lot of remakes, and especially I think it's not going to happen with Wind Waker and Twilight Princess because they already had such advanced graphics. There's not a lot of reason to remake either of those because, frankly, they were PS2 or GameCube level graphics. So what's the point of putting them on the 3DS? You can't do any improvement there. It'll just be the same game. It'll be a re-release, maybe with 3D graphics, but that's not a significant shift. So I don't know. I don't think so. Din Akara asks, the GameCube version of Twilight Princess was the original version of the game, even though the Wii version was released first. Does this mean that the GameCube map is canon over the Wii map flip? And what are your feelings on this? Does it really matter? That is one of the core reasons I got the GameCube version over the Twilight Princess, or over the Wii version. I wanted another chance to play a Zelda game without the motion controls, even though I don't have anything particularly against them. And I wanted to play Twilight Princess as it was, designed to be, as it was originally intended. And yes, I do believe that makes it canon. I believe that the fact that they just flipped the map and the whole game in order to change Link's, which hand is his main hand, there's no way that matches up with what's canon. It was the GameCube version that's canonical as far as the orientation of the world. However, I don't think that actually means anything. I don't think it even matters. I've never believed that the placement of areas on the world map of the Zelda games was important. I've always believed that they make up a completely new Hyrule for every game, and that where everything is doesn't matter. It just matters which locations are in the game, not where they are, because they change that. Or at least I don't feel there's any importance to any potentially static locations they may pick. Bayside Rules asks, you've been asked about how the Zora evolved into the Rito and said they could be freshwater fish. What about the Great Bay Zoras in Majora's Mask? Well, yeah, actually, after I answered that question, I actually got the same, comment in the past, and in the past I answered those additional things in the comments and stuff, but I think it's appropriate to finally go into it in detail in the mailbag. But basically, yeah, that's right. I didn't actually think of that at the time when I first answered this question. That the Rito becoming the Rito from the Zoras, you'd think that there's some reason that the Zoras couldn't survive in the ocean. And, there's the thing that there are, they could be freshwater fish, so they had to evolve to something that wasn't going to be exposed to salt water. But then there's the Great Bay Zoras and Majora's Mask. Now, there's no clear answer to this. I mean, you could say that the Majora's Mask is an alternate dimension, so why not make it so the Zoras actually have different biology? At the same time, I don't know, that sounds a little far-fetched. And at the same time, I don't think it's that outlandish that the Zoras, decided they just weren't going to live, or for some reason they just weren't going to live in a ocean when they weren't exactly like deep sea creatures. They were just, shallow water creatures in a way. Well, not too shallow that you can't dive, but whatever. And I think in a way that it still makes sense on its own. I mean, there's no specific reason, but it just sort of works. I also think that a large reason for the shift there was actually from a game design standpoint, and that they couldn't have an aquatic race that could actually dive down to Hyrule down there under the ocean and expose like the whole secret of the game, pretty much. I think that's actually probably one of the core reasons. Actually, ultimately, I think the reason we have the Rito and we have the Koroks is they just wanted to do something original. They wanted to change two familiar races into something very different, but in a way still similar, and the Rito did sort of feel like the Zora the entire time. Billy Brown asks, you have stated many times in the past that you didn't think Ganondorf should have been thrown into Twilight Princess. So what do you think should have happened? I think really with Ganondorf, it was just the fact that the problem is actually not because there's anything wrong with Ganon, it's because Ganon deserved better. He should have, if they were going to put him in, they should have had the game focusing on him. I've actually did a video on this a while back, you can probably look it up, but I think that they should, if they were going to have Ganon, they should have really went into, building him, but he popped up at the end with no development or anything. Zant was developed the entire game, so frankly, I think they just should have scrapped the Hyrule Castle and made the Palace of Twilight a better dungeon, because frankly, both were like half dungeons, and just had Zant and the Palace of Twilight be the end of the game, and just made it better. I think that's all that they needed to do. Zant was a great villain on his own. I think that they could have worked with that and made him cooler, and made the game better. B. Kimball78 asks, why do you think the hair color of Link and Zelda changed from the more classical color of yellow from the games like Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker to the brown color like in Twilight Princess? Actually, the color of Link's hair was originally brown in the original games, I believe. And Zelda was a redhead, so they've actually were going nuts on this way before that shift. There's no static color for either of them, probably because they're not even the same people in every game. And there's not a lot of reason to put stock into it. They're just trying out different character designs. I'd actually like them to go back to the redhead Zelda. As for Link, he's always been blonde, brown, dirty blonde, etc. They've messed around with him. I don't think there's much to think there. MC asks, in the end of Twilight Princess, Ganondorf is killed after Link uses the ending blow. He then gets up, and before he dies, he tries to use the Triforce to revive himself. That fails, and he dies, but he is still standing. Why is he still standing if he is dead? Does it mean something? It means something in the sense that it was an iconic, kind of symbolic death for a villain. He was dead. He was just dead standing on his feet. He didn't lose his balance when he died. And that's pretty much the most epic way a villain, or anyone really, can go down, just standing there, like nothing happened. It was an epic death for Ganondorf, and I think it was cool. He'll probably fall over eventually. I mean, the wind will tip his body over, so yeah. But I think that there's no other reason for that. I'd be more concerned about the weirdness with the Zant thing during that whole sequence, but him standing is insignificant. 707KMax707 asks, I was wondering if the aliens in Majora's Mask have a larger background, or if you think they will make any appearances in future games. No, I definitely don't think they're going to appear again. They were just a cameo, and they were crazy to be aliens, based on the Flatwoods stuff, the Flatwoods monster of, urban legend, and it was just a crazy little thing for Majora's Mask. If they were going to have aliens in another Zelda game, I think that would probably mean it would be a futuristic Zelda, and I don't like that idea. So, yeah, that's all I can say. No, they were just a cameo, crazy little Easter egg weird thing. Last question. Brian Steinert asks, one thing that seems very strange to me is the general absence of the Gerudo, minus Ganondorf himself, in Twilight Princess. Has this ever been explained by the developers? We see the return of the Zora and Gorons in their typical regions, and we have an entire area specifically titled Gerudo Desert, except there are no Gerudo present, and they seem to have been replaced by Bokoblins. Is there an in-game explanation that I missed, or any rationality that you can think of for doing this? I wonder if this is just another byproduct of them rushing the game, the fact that they intended to put them in but decided to remove them. Or it could be the fact that, they have there probably are females, but they all appear male, Goron race. And then it seemed like they were trying to make, except for Rallis, the Zoras seemed like they were trying to make them mostly female, because they all seem to have female voices. So in that case, having a second all-female race would be a little awkward. So, I don't know, maybe that's a reason, or maybe my reasoning there is completely nuts. Or, maybe that there was a point to it. I wrote, this is a theory that some people talk about, is that the Death Sword was locked up in Arbiter's grounds with the weird charms on it, like it was some horrible thing sealed away. So maybe it killed the Gerudo. Maybe something wiped the Gerudo out. Maybe it was the Boblins, not Bokoblins, themselves. I don't know. Something seems to be up. I don't know what the reason is. Or maybe they just wanted to have... Maybe they weren't planning to put them in, but they wanted to name the desert after them to make a reference to them. Who the hell knows? That's about all I can say on it, so yeah. Alright guys, that's it for this time. Be sure to send your questions to the email address in the description, and later.